Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, representative for like the 14th District of New York, in the Congress, putting out this kind of stuff is really, really irresponsible. And I love the way that she says it. She's got this like little sweet smile as if this is your girlfriend you're doing a Zoom call with, right? And that's the framing of this is very interesting because she goes on this like half-hour long rant, and then afterwards the theatrics of it suddenly collapse, and she's suddenly holding her hand and it's like smiling at, oh sorry, that was my rant, and it's like, so you can see the theater of the whole thing. But we're going to go through the theater of the whole thing because this is designed to enrage people. This is designed to inflame people. This is designed to further polarize and radicalize, and she sounds like a goddamn Nazi. I'm not even joking. It's raw demagoguery. Let's go for clip 1.
I want to cut straight to the chase. Wednesday was an extremely traumatizing event. And it is not an exaggeration to say that many, many members of the House were nearly assassinated. It's just not an exaggeration to say that at all. We were very lucky that things happened within certain minutes that allowed members to escape the House floor unharmed. But many of us nearly and narrowly escaped death.
That's not true at all, right? She didn't nearly die. None of them nearly died. The only people that nearly died were the protesters because they had armed guards. The protesters were not armed. It was not an attempted assassination, and they left when they were asked to leave. They were let in by the police. You could see them. There's other videos where you can just see them being funneled in with the police just standing there, funneling them through. Go on through. So they walk between the velvet ropes and don't smash the place up. But it wasn't an attempt at an assassination, and that is just not true. That's not true at all. And so why would you create this false framing? Well, if you want to try and rile up a base to do something. And one of the things that comes across is just how disingenuous she sounds. She doesn't sound like she's telling the truth. She sounds like she's trying to construct a narrative, which is exactly what she's doing. In fact, let's go for the second clip, which is part 2 of the narrative that she's constructing.
There were also black and brown officers that were confronting white supremacists and putting themselves not just to protect members, but they put themselves in harm's way on the front line, facing the racist violence of white supremacists ordered by Donald Trump to attack the Capitol. And so there were those acts of heroism. But next to that, there was also acts of betrayal. And to run in the Capitol, in our nation's capital, and not know if an officer is there to help you or to harm you is also quite traumatizing.
Well, okay, so first thing
She's insane.
She said that he had ordered this.
Right, hang on.
False.
Right, so, yeah. Nothing about that was true either, right? I guess there were black and brown officers. That's true. There were some black and brown officers. I mean,
I don't know what that's got to do with anything.
It doesn't. It's just that they're complete racists, and so they have to bring it up, right? But then it's, the racist violence ordered by Trump. So now every one of those people that went in is a white supremacist. They were violent white supremacists, and Trump ordered it. Not true, as far as I can tell. Just not true.
Well, the video evidence suggests that it's not true.
Oh, yeah. My lying eyes tell me that that's not true, right? And my lying ears when it comes to Trump's statements, right? But then the acts of betrayal, right? So yeah, we've got the non-white officers, but the white officers, she doesn't know that she's safe from them. That was what she was saying.
Yeah. Just because they're white.
Acts of betrayal. How do we know these other officers around her aren't actually secretly plotting to murder her? I mean, they are white. And they don't...
So they're already guilty.
They're already suspicious. And they may have voted for Donald Trump themselves. So how does she know that she's safe? She doesn't, right? But this is the point. Paranoid, divisive, calling everyone white supremacist and saying that Trump ordered this, which he did not. Let's go for 3, because we're not finished with the paranoia. What about the other senators? What about the other senators who were nearly assassinated? Well, they're white supremacists too. Let's go for it.
I myself did not even feel safe going to that extraction point because there were QAnon and white supremacist sympathizers and frankly white supremacist members of Congress in that extraction point who I know and who I had felt would disclose my location and allow me to who would create opportunities to allow me to be hurt, kidnapped, etc.
Madness. She's accusing Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley of being white supremacists who obviously hate her for not being white and would work against her, would want her kidnapped, and would disclose her location so the white supremacist violent mob that was ordered by Donald Trump would come and do harm to her. Right? Again, none of that is true. This narrative is completely false, and I think the fact that she's spinning it in this way is something she knows is false, and she's doing it to try and create terrorism. She's trying to create further consequences. And this is not the first time we talked about this.
She's rattling up the temperature for no other reason. And
Yeah.
it's not like she hasn't been guilty of this before.
Yeah.
There are two instances now that I've learnt about from reading Andy's book. That there are two people who were directly inspired by her comments that the ICE facilities were concentration camps that ended up in two terrorist incidents.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
And that concentration camps narrative comes up in this rant as well.
she never disavowed it.
No, well, she
Never
brings it up
disavowed.
again in this. In fact, in the very next clip, in fact. Should we listen to it?
I have a message for anyone who is resigning after Wednesday. Too late. Too late. You're not going to resign after Wednesday and act like you weren't a part of it. Were you secretary on Wednesday? Yes, you were. You were a part of it. Were you secretary every single step leading up to Wednesday? Yes, then you were a part of it. You don't get to allow for an attack that kills 5 people.
Also not true.
And then afterwards, you say, I wasn't a part of it. Yes, you were. You were a part of it when you caged kids. You were a part of it when you repealed Title IX. You were a part of it when the president committed the first dozen number of crimes that he committed. You were a part of it when you excused the law breaking. You were a part of it. You were a part of it. You were a part of it. Those 5 people's blood is on your hands. What are you going to do? And they think that resigning is going to clean that blood off their hands. It is always on them. They are forever stained with the deaths of 5 people, especially when they did not invoke the 25th Amendment to remove this president when they had the power to do so. Cowards.
So
Cowards.
she's responsible for every person in the Black Lives Matter riots after the death of George Floyd, by this standard.
Yeah.
She is completely responsible. Every piece of property destroyed, every person killed, all the people who were raped and robbed and murdered in the Chaz, she's responsible for it all. And I mean, she is responsible for some terror attacks, like the attack on the ICE facility that she directly inspired. And what was the other one?
The other one was a guy who, I won't go into the big dispute, but he was in a school. Officers were trying to get him off the school. He turned around, fired 2 shots, almost killed his own kid, and the officer had to shoot him in the head.
Jesus. She's responsible for that by this standard, right? And you can see that she's not going to allow the resignations of the members of the Trump team who are resigning at this point, right? She's got an evil will and she's going to go after them. She wants them harmed.
I hate to think what she's going to do with Obama. Like, we're going to talk about caging kids.
Well, he did it, yeah.
He was the one who brought it up, so...
Yeah. But this is the point. I mean, she sounds like a Nazi. She sounds like she's going to execute her political opponents at some point.
She'd happily do it.
She really sounds like if they were lined up against the wall and the comrades have got their grunt and they're like, what should we do with her? Commissar AOC, she'd have this run and then have them shot. I really feel that that's the case. She seems evil.
You know, this did actually happen in Iraq.
Of course, it happened in all of these revolutions.
Like, they took half the parliamentarians out, made the other half get them guns, and made them shoot the other half of the parliament.
Really? Jesus.
Because then it was like, you're in on it.
Right, okay, I didn't know that.
She'd do it.
But
She wouldn't even flinch.
Well, she's already saying that, they're all in on it, essentially, and therefore... But anyway, we'll keep going on, right? Let's go to the next one.
Because if they actually cared about rule of law, they would speak up when people break the law. They would speak up. They would enforce fairness and equity, but they don't give a damn about the law. They don't give a damn about order. They don't give a damn about about safety. They give a damn about white supremacy. They care about preserving the social order and the mythology of whiteness than the grandeur of our democracy. That's what they care about. They lust for power more than they care about democracy.
Insane. Ranting about white supremacy, right? I don't want to know what enforced equity means. That sounds terrifying.
We know what
that sounds
means.
communism. You're right.
Yeah.
But I love this. The mythology of whiteness, and then the grandeur of our democracy. Bitch, that is mythologizing. Like, what are you doing? The grandeur. I mean, she didn't even pronounce it right. But the grandeur of our democracy. What does that mean? Like, if you're an American, you believe the government comes from the people. The government is not sacred or sacrosanct in any way. Again, why you want to read the book, watch the book club. The government is not sacrosanct in any way, shape, or form. It belongs to the people of the United States. It's the people that are sacrosanct. But she has put the government above them and said, no, this is the sacred thing that you are defiling for the mythology of white supremacy. It's like, nobody's saying that. Nobody is saying that.
Just want to say what a secure thing to do as well. Like, you've just won the White House, you won both houses of Congress. If this was you, you'd be relaxing. You're having a good time.
I'd be like, let's all calm down.
Yeah.
We've got it all. We don't want anyone to go nuts. We don't want anyone to start a civil war because we're in charge. That's what I would be saying, but they clearly don't feel in charge. Bane is stalking the streets.
Do we have another clip?
We do. Let's talk about how AOC can't even get her own narrative straight.
This is about thinking that if an election doesn't reinforce your power, then you believe it is fundamentally illegitimate. And why do you think it's illegitimate? And how do you try to delegitimize our elections? By saying black people shouldn't vote. By saying Latino people shouldn't be full U.S. citizens. That's what those people did when they voted to overturn the results of our free and fair elections. And you can barely call them that with the amount of voter suppression that they have engaged in across the country. It is generous, to say the least, to call them that.
Right.
Look at the hand movements.
Let's call them that. It's like, okay, that's
Okay, Shakespeare.
Yeah, very poor rhetorical form, I would suggest. It feels very empty. It feels like she's desperately trying to cobble this narrative together, and she's realized that this is actually a contradictory narrative, right? So the flash in the middle there was me clipping those two bits together so people could see I'd clip that together, because this is from two parts, where she's like, they tried to overturn a free and fair election, but it's also not free and fair because of all the gerrymandering and all the voter suppression. So it's like, okay, you don't agree that you have free and fair elections. And she spends ages going, oh, the deck is stacked in their favor. The deck is stacked in their favor. And it's like, then it's not a free and fair election, is it? Yeah. You are lying. You have a contradiction here that one or the other must be true. And you can't even stop yourself from going, yeah, well, I mean, it's not even free. It's like, and oh, how dare they? Nancy Pelosi in 2017 was like, oh, this was a steal. This was steal. Russia this, Russia that. And then 3 years of investigations later found nothing. But
then every election afterwards will be perfectly secure.
Exactly. When do the Republicans get their investigation into this? But anyway, so this.
I mean, she's a socialist as well. She doesn't believe in elections. Shut off.
Yeah.
I'm not taking this.
Yeah. Democracy. But yeah. Anyway, so she keeps on going about white supremacists and Confederates.
When these rioters broke into our nation's capital, they flew the Confederate flag inside our nation's capital. Let me break down the historical significance of that for you. This happened.
Historical significance.
They flew the Confederate flag for the first time in American history in the U.S. Capitol. It didn't even make it in during the Civil War.
I love the way that we're being berated here, right? Now, what I love about this,
I can't help but joke. Look how bad that is. Sorry,
it's cringe. And that's it. It's acting. It's theatre. It's just like Mussolini. It's just like Hitler. It's just like, again, this is why you want to go watch our book clubs. This is what we were talking about in Frank Dicotta's Dictators. How all of the 20th century dictatorships were a giant theatre production that were just, meant to make you believe something wasn't true. And that's clearly what's happening here. But what I love about this, so she's going, the sanctity of our capital, our nation. It's like, what, the white supremacist nation? The white supremacist country, the genocided Native Americans, imperialist conquering of the manifest destiny that has oppressed all of these other groups, and suddenly, oh, it's inviolable. How dare you bring in a Confederate flag? You hate that country.
Like, why were you trying to burn it down a few months ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, remind me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when she's talking about all the violence and stuff like that and the rule of law, it's like, whoa, you were totally in favor of the Black Lives Matter stuff. That's outside the rule of law. What the hell are you talking about?
But the reason, obviously, is to destroy the imperialist, racist United States. But when it's
Exactly.
actually being attacked, or then
Yeah.
she's like, wait, no, we need to protect the imperialist, racist
Yeah,
United
exactly.
States.
Suddenly, oh no, that's our imperialist, racist, white supremacist United States.
It might be imperialist, racist United States, but it's mine.
Yeah, exactly, right? And the funny thing is because one fat idiot had a Confederate flag, and it's like, oh god, he's going to start waffling on about heritage now. You know, like I don't
Lincoln
support
was the bad guy or something.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. You know, and yet, did she object to Lincoln's statue being defaced and removed? Of
course
no.
not.
You know, there's a statue.
He was a racist.
There's a statue of Lincoln freeing the slaves, and Black Lives Matter are like, yep, pull it down. Okay, so ending slavery is white supremacy. Gotcha. Let's just go to the next one, because this is where we get to the wonderful accumulation of what she's coming to. The final point, which is the extirpation of her opponents. They have to be disappeared.
White supremacists will never, ever, ever live in a world where they will see their fantasies come true. Ever. Which is why they rely on violence.
That explains Black Lives
That's
Matter.
why they cling to violence so much. Because there is no other way for them. There's no other way. Every other way is democratic and cooperative, where we all must share our genius with one another.
Stop.
Where our society is not built on supremacy or on a politics of domination of one another. And they can't live in that world. They can't live in a world without supremacy, without domination. They can't live in a world where they can just coexist. No. They have to reign supreme. And since a white supremacist world, and since supremacy in general is a myth, it will never be true for anybody. Since supremacy is a myth, they have to resort to violence.
Someone tell Joe Biden's. Like, you got to tell Joe Biden's team that supremacy is a myth.
Yeah.
But I love the projection on this.
Oh, totally.
Total projection. Like, they're never going to get what they want, so they have to use violence. You know, the other routes are democratic. Like, you're a socialist who was destroying the country a few months ago. Happy to do it. You know, you've radicalized people who have then gone out and committed terrorist attacks. Okay, you were happy to do that. You were then asked about it, and you didn't even denounce it. You didn't even say, okay, I denounce that guy.
Yep.
He took it too far. She said nothing.
Yep.
Nada.
But I mean, the obsession with white supremacists to me is fascinating, because I mean, where? Like, I'm just looking around, I'm just watching American politics.
They're under the beds.
I'm not seeing many Nazi flags. I'm not seeing much in the way of the KKK. I'm seeing a lot of, boomer MAGA QAnon folks who don't want those satanic pedos in the Democratic Party running the country. I don't think that's white supremacy. I think that's just boomer conspiracy tardition. But anyway, so this whole thing, I love this, right? So white supremacists, she's told us, she has reliably informed us, because she is the white supremacist whisperer. She knows what they think, right? And they can't stand to live with others. They can't coexist with others. And so...
Look who's talking.
Yeah, exactly. Right? They can't stand to coexist with others, and they must have a politics of domination and supremacy. And so in the name of having a politics of cooperation, inclusion, and equality, this is her opinion.
And so I want to be clear to Senator Ted Cruz.
Noted Nazi.
You do not belong in the United States Senate. I want to be clear to Senator Josh Hawley. You do not belong in the United States Senate. You do not belong in any democratically elected seat when you do not believe that election was even legitimate, according to your self-serving claims. So get out.
But her election was.
Exiled in the name of tolerance.
Yeah.
Exiled in the name of inclusion. You do not belong. AOC 2021. You do not belong. Get out. What the hell kind of message is this? This is
That's unity and tolerance, my
Yeah,
friend.
no, that's not the language of dominance or exclusion. Oh no, that's unity and tolerance when she does it. But you do not belong. Get out. The Republicans should just clip that and have that playing constantly. This is her opinion of you, of the Republicans. This is her opinion of most of the Democrats. I mean, she came out and said, well, in a normal party, in a normal country, me and Joe Biden wouldn't even be in the same party. It's like, yeah, because you're an insane person and Joe Biden's just deeply corrupt. I mean, Joe Biden's senile, but like, anyway. So
But I loved your point though, which is that she believes that all the elections are gerrymandered and they're trying to restrict black people voting and blah blah blah. And
So they're not legit-
But she sits in a safe seat.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think that safe seat isn't actually safe? That you've gerrymandered it to the point that people are essentially locked into voting for you?
but you can't call them free and fair elections if you've got all of this narrative as to why the elections aren't going your way normally. But anyway, let's finish with clip 10.
To all of us, a long-term cost for all of us, for personal gain, personal gain, personal gain. And as long as they have a shred of personal gain to get in making the same decisions, they will continue to make them. That's why they gotta go. And that's why they need to experience consequences. Not because it's punishment, not because it's I'm getting back at you, but because consequences are the only way they will stop contributing to violence. It's the only way they will stop contributing to undermining our democracy. So they need to go. They need to get out.
Need re-educating.
She's terrifying. I think she
should
would
have
shoot them.
re-education camps, maybe.
I think she would just kill them. I think she would just have them killed.
Well, that's what the re-education camps actually are.
Well, yeah.
They are just meant to kill you.
But yeah, I think that she is a lunatic, and I think that Americans really need to listen to how she is treating the opposition. This again it comes down to the will of the republic itself. It has to be a shared will to engage in politics. You can't have one side saying literally "get out, I don't like you," especially when these people are elected. Like she's talking about Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. Like these are just the most orthodox conservatives, you know. And then these are the white supremacists. These are the people who need to get out. These are the people she can't deal with. And it's like, well, okay, well then that's your problem. They were elected. They don't have to go anywhere because of your outrage.
Like Ted Cruz could take some of that, run it as campaign ads for himself. Where it's
Definitely.
like, look at the left.
Definitely.
You're voting for that,
They
you vote for
all
me.
should. They all should. Like, this is what we're getting from our opponents. They're not loyal to the United States. They don't believe in the democratic process. They believe in domination, unironically. You know, they don't believe in tolerance. But yeah, I think that one day she'll end up inspiring something even worse than what she's already inspired that will be pretty bad.
I mean, she's already on 2 points.
Yep.
You know, why not go for 3, 4, 5?
I mean, this is just an attempt to radicalize people. You can see it. She's painting the opposition as entirely negative. There's nothing redeemable about them, and they are white supremacists. What's her side done wrong? Nothing. Not one thing on her side that she could say, oh, well, you know, that was a mistake we made.
She couldn't even disavow a terrorist attack
Yeah.
committed by her words.
Yeah.